Yo tirarme en agua desde allá.
Esa es mi casa. Mi pasión, güey. Está bien chiquito. Igual que Roberto. Igual que el país de acá. ¿Qué pasa, María? ¿Quieres estar así porque hace frío, güey?
Sí, ese me está grabando. Muy bonito, muy bonito.
Pero Miguel con mi mochila por ahí.
Qué bonito por aquí, pero tú.
Ay, se ahogó el pobre. Muy bonito.
This is beautiful for here. Lo que hay es mucha cruz, tío. Wow.
Ah.
Oh my God, no me deja ver esto. No me digan que qué pasó por ahí.
Okay, single line, food.
Line. Avioneta. Tú puedes entrar sin cualquier problema. Porque eres chiquita. Ay.
Estoy grabando.
Ay, Virgen Santa, no, mi vida.
María la alcanza.
Is it Appalachian?
Yeah, if you guys want to take photos now, now's the time.
Estamos bien nosotros.
Si quieren tomar fotos. Estas son las comidas que ellos comieron. This is the food that they ate. Lagarta, tortuga, pescado.
Un cocodrilo.
That's cool.
Pura cabeza. Fuego.
Es un cocodrilo.
Flip the ball.
Eat it.
Se parece a the game ball.
How can I eat it?
What's
Yeah,
that?
eat it. You eat it.
What's that? It's George.
Hola.
Hola.
Llamo Manuel, soy Fred Franciscano. I'm here today looking for El Cacique. Have you, any of you seen him? You know what cacique means? Well, out here is what we call a chief, Appalachian chief, because this is where he holds court with his advisors. Now I have a question for you all. Where do you think he sits? Where do you think El Cacique sits? Here's a hint. If you're chief, you will be above everyone else, don't you? So you're going to sit right there underneath the deer skull. That's what we call the barbacoa. That's the most elevated platform. If you'd like to come this way, we can get a little bit closer.
Como fue la grabación. Vale, Luis.
So it's this seat here. This is where El Cacique is going to be sitting, and around him are going to be his advisors. These are going to be the leading men of the Appalachian community, like the leading warriors, the clan leaders, the other such individuals. And now, what do you think some of the things are that they discuss around here? Well, here's a hint. We're primarily an agricultural settlement out here. So one thing we're going to be discussing are the schedules for the crops. Because when we're going to plant the corn and the beans and the squash, all of those things. And they're going to be discussing other things as well, like when they want to go to war against the English, the North, and the Creek Indians. Because over the last year, we've been getting raids from the North. The English and their Creek allies have been raiding all of our missions here in Florida. So so the Appalachians are doing their best to protect their homes and their settlements. Now, one thing to remember is that out here, if the chief dies, if El Cacique dies, who do you think becomes the next Cacique? What was that? His son? It's not a bad guess, and that's certainly the case in Spain. But here in La Florida, the Appalachians do things a little bit differently. What they will do is that it's not the chief's son who succeeds him, but the eldest son of his eldest sister. That makes them a matrilineal society. So if you are born into an Appalachian family, whose family do you belong to? Which name do you take? Like today, whose name do you take? Your mother's or your father's? Well, here in Appalachia, you're going to take your mother's name because you belong to your mother's clan. So that's a very important thing to remember, because it's not just that you belong to your mother's family, but if you're an Appalachian man and you get married, you are going to go and live with your wife's family. So that's a very important thing to remember, and that's been a source. As friar, I had to counsel with a lot of families here, because some of our Spanish soldiers up at the fort will marry Appalachian women, and that's the biggest problem they have. One of the biggest problems is deciding how to order things. Do they do it the Spanish way or the Appalachian way? Not always. Some of our Spanish men have very strong opinions about this. Now, another issue that the chief and his council will need to decide, in addition to planning schedules and in addition to the planning schedules and the military aspect, is they're going to mediate disputes between themselves and the Spanish here. One of the biggest issues is that the crops of the Spanish will sometimes get in the field of the Appalachian where they're growing their food. It's not a good thing, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say it's a bad thing? Exactly, because if your food has been eaten by someone else's cow,